Hi everyone, my name is Damien Siqueiros and I'm a photographer and visual artist. And this is the second video related to my exhibition at the Art Gallery of Burlington. And what I'm doing is I'm answering a few of the questions that the team from the AGB thought it would be interesting to answer for their public. So the first question is what inspires you? And the second one relates to the artists that were the most prominent or that actually had an impact in my career. As a kid, I think I was always attracted to art, especially to the creative side of this profession. And for a long time, I didn't thought that it was a viable career. I think I thought of studying other things, but at the end, I think that it was such a great calling that I don't think that I had too much of a choice of doing anything else, and I think what produced this is just that the fact that I had so many wonderful people to look up to. I think in terms of general visual references, painting has always been a great medium for me to look up to, and if you see my work, you'll see a very big relationship with classical painting. At the beginning, I think I was very related to Baroque painting. So, for example, Caravaggio or Rembrandt are names that you probably know, and they're very much engraved in everybody's minds. But I would say that Pre-Raphaelites are very important in my visual references, especially Waterhouse. I really like John Singer Sargent. And the Russian nationalist romantics, I think that they're really interesting to look at in terms of the lighting that they have. And if you see my lighting, especially in the series that I'm presenting at the AGB, you'll see that the tonalities relate a lot to this kind of very dim lighting on the model, and then you have a bright background that comes from this inspiration. And this relationship with painting is not necessarily only in terms of inspiration. I think that's where it began, but now I'm using it in a way that it helps me out to talk about topics in a historic context. So when you use painting to speak about contemporary topics, you can also introduce some elements that are metaphorical or in some way they do an allegory for that history of that topic. So for example, if I talk about gender equality, you can introduce elements that seem a little bit outdated, and then the public can question about those things. The way that we represent things, the way that we see things in the medium that we use, whether it's, the classical painting or photography now, also speak about the way that we see. And that's very interesting, because if I'm using a way that it might be outdated, looking at things, we have to look them through the eyes of the past as well, and with ideas that belong in the future, or ideas that can bring us to the future, especially when it comes to social activism and social topics. In terms of artists that still inspire me or in some way have an impact in the way that I see things, I think that now I look a little bit more to dance other than visual reference, just because for me it allows me to translate and to use this inspiration in a way that it's not literal. So I wouldn't see necessarily a photographer and then do exactly the same thing as the other photographer, but I would look to dance, and I would see ways of solving communication issues or language issues in a different way. So for example, I some of my favorite choreographers are people like Sidi Larbi or Pina Bausch, and just the way that they treat the body and how the body reacts and how the body communicates certain social aspects of the life around them. The life around you changes the way that you move, and then that can be exaggerated and communicated through dance. And then when you photograph dance, or when you make a video of that dance, you communicate those things through the body, but in a heightened way. So for me, now I think it's more important to look to these artists that are on the performing arts rather than in the visual arts. That said, I always keep in mind some of the artists from painting or from photography that really, really inspire me, from Yasumasa Morimura or Cindy Sherman or Pierre Gilles, that I used to look a little bit more to them. That can give me a little bit of cues on how to resolve some of the issues in my work. So I'll go to the next question, and I'll do another small video. So hope to see you soon.